3, 2, 1. Hello, Facebook. Hi, everyone. I am Leah. I'm the founder of urban20something.com, and I am very, very, very excited for our interview today. I am interviewing Natalie Bacon. Hopefully you guys know her. If not, I'm going to read a little bit about her and you're going to find out a lot about her. But on a personal level, Natalie is one of the first bloggers I ever followed. I'm a huge fan of hers. I related to her for so long, and she's going to, tell her story. But for those of you that have followed me, you know that I started Urban 20 something when I declined my law school acceptances, and Natalie got accepted into law school, went through it, earned her degree, got, passed the bar and was a lawyer, and still also made a turn to pursue entrepreneurship. So her bravery has always stuck me, stuck with me, her persistence to make life on her terms, and her positivity and good attitude, even through your blog posts, have always struck me from the beginning. So thank you so much for being here, Natalie.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. So I'm just going to read a little bit about yourself and then turn the conversation over to you. But for those of you watching, Natalie is a life coach specializing in mindset, productivity, and goal setting. She started her journey with $206,000 of student loan debt from law school, which she turned into a six-figure blog in 3.5 years. She left her career as an attorney and as a financial planner behind and never looked back. Natalie now helps creative, strong women design their dream lives just like she did. She has been featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, CNBC, and more. Okay, Natalie, so that's a little bit about your background, but we'd love to hear any more that you want to share, and specifically how you started what you now have as a six-figure business around your 9-to-5 job. My audience is mostly side hustlers, so I'd love to hear what you did.
Yeah, so it all started 3.5 years ago. I graduated law school and I had a ton of student loan debt, and for whatever reason, I just thought I'm going to start a blog. I didn't even read blogs. Like, I knew I was not, everyone's like, oh, I was the entrepreneur selling lemonade. Like, it was in my blood. Like, no, I was not the entrepreneur at all. I was always going to be a lawyer. I loved it at first, and then I quickly hated it. And I worked for private law firms. Like, they pretty much own you. And I worked for really good, awesome firms, so I have no complaints about that. But early on, I realized that it wasn't for me. And at the same time, I was blogging about money. So I had all this debt and I wanted to, learn about money. I really felt like I had done everything right up to that point and listened to everyone. And I was in a really crappy situation, I thought, at the time. And I had no idea how this happened. I felt it was almost like a scarcity victim-y mindset where I just felt like it happened to me. So that's how I started the journey. And I found out quickly that I loved money and personal finance and learning about money. So I decided after a little bit of blogging, maybe 1.5 years or so, that I wanted to make the career change and become a financial planner. So I just did that, and that was pretty hard. And I took a 50% pay cut, but I had been reading income reports and had confidence that I would be able to monetize my blog. I didn't really know how, but I was freelance writing a little bit. And so there was some side hustle money coming in, but that was pretty much it. So I just did it. Lawyering was so bad for me at that time. So I quit, went all in with financial planning and became a certified financial planner, grew my blog income up even more, and then kind of got to the point in my financial planning career where it was like, okay, you're going to become a lead advisor and go to the next level, or you're going to do this entrepreneur thing. Yeah, right. Or not. You can't do both forever, at least not in my firm where I was at. So I had to make the really tough decision to quit. And I get a lot of questions about at what financial point did you do this? And you think that that's what it's going to be like. Okay, when I have X amount of dollars saved and when I have X amount I can live on and all these things lined up. And no, there was none of that. I waited so long. And then finally I was at a conference, which I'm a huge proponent of getting around like-minded individuals. I think there's something magical about that. Podcasts are a great way to do it, online forums, Facebook groups, all of that stuff, your amazing community. But other than that, you can go to conferences, and doing it in person is so amazing. And everyone there was like, what are you doing? I was the only person at Traffic and Conversion Summit. First of all, there were 5 bloggers there. No bloggers go to it. They're big time agencies, entrepreneurs making tons of money. They're like, wait, what? Why are you, whatever. So I just decided there to quit. That was it. I was just done. The decision was made. I was committed, and I knew that I was capable of making more money in the future. So I just came back and did it, and I quit. And that was, by the time, you come back, you quit, you put in your notice, I had a month notice, all that. So I started entrepreneurship full-time in April, and that's only a few months ago. Yeah, so it's been great. I've, been consistently making, I went up to like 14K a month, 15, 16, and I just did 20K last month. So everything is looking up, which I am so excited about. Yeah.
Wow, huge congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. What an incredible story you have. I always am inspired by you. And I so resonate, just like I always have, with what you said about when you just were sort of like, how did I end up here? When I was about to go to law school, I just remember feeling almost betrayed. I was like, I did what you all told me to do. Like, why does this suck?
That is so true. It's so funny because I'll talk to people who are non-lawyers now, and like, if they know nothing about law, they're almost like 100% of the time their immediate response is, oh, wow, you went through a lot of education to give that up. But if you ever say that to, or if I ever tell a lawyer that I quit, they're like, oh, thank God. They're like, oh, that's so great. Like, it's high five. Yeah, they're like, oh my God, yeah. Talk to my son or daughter who wants to do it. It's just, you can't, it's one of those things where it's like a club. You don't really get it unless you're in it. And you really have to be so committed to the process. Or work for the government.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not an easy path. And it's so brave of you that you have just always continued to change. My fiance was a lawyer, just like you, where he like actually went through and he also quit. And I thought that I did a pretty brave thing leaving when I, got accepted and basically just declined on the last day. But to actually have, the deeper in you get, the harder it is to leave. So it's incredible that you just continued to do so. And so you were blogging, you started your blog when you were working as a lawyer, which must have been a lot, right? Because I'm sure you worked really long hours, and your work at your law firm was probably quite strenuous and just exhausting. So I'm sure you have some tips on how to juggle that. And even now that you are working for yourself, I'm sure you have to deal with productivity all the time. Do you have any big tips for us?
Yeah, a couple things on that. So I have this blog post about time management tips for bloggers, and I kind of think that you're in different phases. So when you first start, it's definitely like this hobby thing that even though you think you could monetize, you're not there yet. So the amount of time you're putting in isn't like the amount of time you put in when you're about to quit. So when I was about to quit my financial planning job, I was getting up at 4 a.m., blogging before work, blogging at lunch, blogging after work, and on the weekends. I mean, it was like 2 full-time jobs. But that was like, I knew I was about to quit, and I'm building this thing that has to support me. Contrast that with when I first started, it was, on the weekends and at night, and it was, I wasn't like viewing it as this thing that had to support me full time. But that said, I think the biggest productivity hack I have that will literally change your life is if you start calendaring, and I use that as a verb, all of the results you expect to get during a certain time, so that you don't put on your calendar, let's say you're going to blog at night from 7 to 9 p.m. You wouldn't put on your blog or on your calendar, blog from 7 to 9 p.m. That's like the activity. What you would put on your calendar is like, write 1 blog post and create images and Pinterest images, or whatever you expect the result to be during that time, so that every time that you have something on your calendar, you know exactly what result you're going to produce. So if you're creating a course or an ebook, it shouldn't be work on course, work on ebook. You should have the end goal, and then you should create like a massive action list of everything that you need to accomplish, and then just put those on your calendar in different time slots. And you know what? Perfectionism has to go out the door. Let the typos come. You gotta overproduce, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're throwing so much out into the world, and you don't know what the marketplace is gonna love and not love. And you might think you know, and then your audience likes something totally different. And you have to be like creating so much value into the world so that you can really see what they like. And if you're hung up on the typos and the perfectionism and all that, especially when you're a one-man show, you'll never produce enough to be successful. So that's my biggest tip.
I love that. I think that advice is so great. And, the more you really get into the world of entrepreneurship, the more you hear people say that perfectionism is just a mask of fear anyway. It's not really, you know, and some people, especially lawyers, can wear perfectionism like it is a badge of honor. They're so proud that they have it, when in reality, it often can keep you stuck from actually finishing something or moving forward with things. So I'm sure that's a huge shift that you had to go through. And I'm really grateful that you brought it up, because all the time people come to me and they're like, oh, I'd love to do this, but it's not good enough. It doesn't look professional. You know, if only I had X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, if you knew what my website looked like the first time I launched it, it's like, it's so embarrassing. But you have to do it, because it's going to change. Things are going to change. Just like you said, you don't know what people are going to like, and you're never going to find out if you don't get it out there in the first place. So absolutely, that's great advice. And I love that, you know, calendaring your achievements, not just what you're doing during that time. And time blocking has been so essential for me as well, because we all get so flooded with things all the time. So just knowing exactly what you're doing at each time helps a lot.
Yes. I had a friend, actually, I talked to him about this, and he was talking about all of his different stuff he was going on during the week, but he had already created his first product, and he was, and like, what do you do every day? Like, he was so overwhelmed, but I couldn't understand what he was doing. And he's like, honestly, I don't know. I'm putting out fires. So if you are living in the space where you're putting out fires, you're in reaction mode instead of being proactive, and you really need to take a look at your calendar and plan and prioritize and calendar all of the things that you want done and what to accomplish in all of those time slots. Like, make Mondays your content days, make Tuesdays your passive learning days, make Wednesdays your selling days, like whatever it is in time block, so that everything else that comes at you, you have to schedule around. And that might mean saying, hey, I can do this, but not till a month from now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but that's, you know, that's how you get things done. That's such a good point. I really I love that you think that as well, because sometimes, and it's hard, people, you know, in your regular life, like, that don't have side hustles or businesses or whatever, they're like, so you really can't see me for 5 weeks? And it's like, my hands are tied.
Oh my God. They're like, well, I had someone tell me the other day, like, well, I mean, it's like on your own time though, right? Like you can do it. You're just not, and I'm like, this is like a real job. It's not like, this isn't just like playtime. Like,
not like pretending. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I can actually make money. Like,
right, you're right. So I think that you have great insight about, you know, when you made the leap to full-time entrepreneurship, and it sounds like for you, the biggest component wasn't preparing or anything, but really making the decision. And so do you have advice on any, you know, decision, and whether it's quitting someone's job or not? But I just was rereading Think and Grow Rich, and they have that whole chapter on decision making, and saying that, you know, indecision is a decision within itself. And if you aren't proactive, then you're deciding that things are okay the way they are. So how do you help people, or how do you yourself make decisions that are going to improve your life, even when they're terrifying and you don't want to do it?
Yes. So I think it's like NatalieBacon.com/just decision-making, this whole guide to decision making, because I honestly think that all of the reasons people give for not going for it are really just excuses, and they seem rational and reasonable, and your friends and family are going to support it, like, oh, I'm not ready and I need to save more money and all this. But it really comes down to making the decision and committing. Like, I waited so long to do that, and it was so not helpful. Like, it's kind of like you said, yeah, it's like living in indecision or kind of prolonging it. It is a decision. You are creating the results that you want, even if that's through inaction. So what I like to do is always give yourself a deadline for decision. Always ask yourself, what would your future self in 5 years want you to do? So that one was, you know, like, in 5 years, if you're looking back, what would your future self want you to do? That's a really good one. What's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario in both situations? You know, there's a lot of other hacks I do, but no matter what, I always give myself a deadline, because people think that taking more time to make the decision makes it a better decision, but that's actually not true.
Right.
You just are prolonging it. So it's like the Tony Robbins, I think it was him who I first heard it from. It's like your destiny is shaped in your moments of decision. So you, all that time ahead of time, you're just like procrastinating. You make the decision in a moment. And it's like, practice the skill of making quicker decisions. So next time someone says, where do you want to go to eat? Like, just get in the habit of never living in I don't know, and just making those quick decisions. And then you get better at it, and you'll apply it to bigger things in your life. So I'm really quick at decision making, and obviously when they're bigger things like moving out of state and changing careers,
moving.
it takes a little bit more time because I have so much resistance to it. But you talk to other entrepreneurs, like, and they're like, oh, what took you so long? But because I'm naturally risk averse, so I really have to practice the skill of decision making. And when you do it, always, always, always commit and honor your decisions. Like, go all in. And you know what? If in a year it doesn't work out, then you make a new decision. But you don't go into it thinking plan B. You don't go into it with like those what ifs, because then you'll kind of rely on that, and then you won't go all in and take the necessary action to overcome all those obstacles.
Right. I love that. So much good stuff there. I'm going to like go back and quote you on all of it. But first, I love what you said about making yourself, this should just be for anything in life. Whenever you think of the worst case scenario, make yourself also think of the best case scenario. We way too often get stuck in that what if land in a negative way. Why don't we spend more time in the what if in a positive way? So I love that point of view. And I also love the way you talk about, decision making and just being sort of brave in general, coming as like a muscle you practice and you exercise, because you're saying you're naturally risk averse. And I'm sure a lot of people are, especially if they've gone to law school. And so, realizing that you don't have to surrender to that stereotype. You can be something different. You can be braver. You can be more of a risk taker by practicing with little things like, where am I going to dinner? That completely makes sense to me. So awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I just completely agree that the indecision is like a terrible place to live in. Never live in I don't know, because if you put all the energy that you are putting into debating internally what you should do into just doing the thing you're considering, you probably would have it done by now. You probably have made more money by now. You probably it wouldn't even be an issue anymore. And so that's a wonderful way to look at it. Thank you so much for that. And I am going to go back and pull out your quotes. But so kind of segueing onto that, and as I'm sure as you're doing a very good job right now, I know that you are working on now becoming a certified life coach. So career number 3, 4. So what made that, be what you decided when you knew you were going to do work for yourself? What about that particularly was pulling you?
Yeah, so, and I worry about this because that it is what my Instagram says now, success coach, and I'm always kind of toying with what to call myself, because I really am trying to pursue a career like Brendon Burchard and Tony Robbins, right? And you'll hear them talk about being high performance coaches or success coaches and that sort of thing. So I want that training because I have the finance training, right? And I talk a lot about money still. I've never been trained in personal development, but I teach it so much. So coach training is a way for me to get better at those skills with personal development. It's a way for me to teach and coach better about what I already do. I teach Design Your Dream Life Academy, which is one of my personal development courses. So I just want to get better at my craft. It's not that I'm going to turn this into a new career where I'm doing one-on-one client coaching. Yeah, I could see myself doing some subscription-based thing in the future or whatever, but it's just a way for me to get that training that I don't have about serving my community better, I guess. Yeah.
Right. I went to a conference here in New York just a couple weeks ago called Blog Her. I'm sure you've heard of it. And so it was 2 days, and there were tons of female entrepreneurs and female startup owners. And Marie Forleo was one of the speakers. And what struck me about her was that every other speaker, every other female up there had a title, they founded this app or they are this actress. They had a very specific title. And Marie Forleo's was modern entrepreneur, just didn't even feel the need, and that was really because I understand what you go through. It's well, I kind of do so many things. So, but we don't really need, why do we need that title?
Oh my God, it's only to serve other people, right? I was just at a party over the weekend, and a birthday party, and people were asking me, they were asking me why I'm moving, for a job. And I'm well, I work online, I run my business. No. And I want the people I'm serving to know that it's so, personal development is my jam, productivity mindset. That's how I want to serve my people. And then all the the money and the business and the blogging, all that stuff, entrepreneurship is encompassing that personal development stuff. So I'm with you. It's one of those things where it's modern entrepreneur.
Yes, exactly. So This is kind of a side question, but do you have like 3 favorite books you'd recommend to really strengthen your mindset right now?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I don't have 3 books from, well, Awaken the Giant Within, Tony Robbins, I would say for sure. As a Man Thinketh, James Allen. And then for the third one, I'm not going to say a book, but I will say the podcast that like totally changed my life and the coach training that I'm going to is by Brooke Castillo, the Life Coach School.
Awesome.
Hopefully my podcast soon.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're going to be right up there in those best of books. I love it.
Right.
And so what other sort of practices do you have or daily rituals? I know you probably have quite a few, but especially now, I'm sure your mindset needs to be stronger than ever because not only are you teaching it, but you're going through a big transition in your life. You're moving, you just changed careers. So you know what it means to stay strong. What are your favorite tips? What's really helped you, be really strong with yourself at all times?
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 parts to it. So the first part is I feel really lucky that I went to law school and was trained as a lawyer. Talk to any lawyer, dentist, physician, pharmacist. Like what they went through during those years was like comparable to like what they would jokingly call torture. Like you are freaking working. And I have a hard time communicating that to people who don't have any similar experience because they think because like they're not off at 5 p.m. that like they're working so hard. It's like, no, I went to law school and passed the bar. So my level, like my threshold for working hard is so different than most people's. So I was just with some dentists over the weekend, and he was joking about like, just the hours that he's about to put in for the next 7 months.
Right.
It wasn't like 7 days or 7 hours. He's like, yeah, they own me for the next 7 months. And it was worth it to him. But I think because there's like this safety of, it's only for 3 years or 4 years, you have an exact deadline, there's comfort there. Whereas entrepreneurs, for some reason, think that like, if they have to work that hard, it's not for a season and they'll have to put in those hours for years. I think up to your first 100 grand, until you're 6 figures, you're going to have to Gary Vee it out and hustle really hard and give yourself a timeline for that. Give yourself 1 to 3 years and go all in like you are in professional school. And it doesn't matter if people don't understand it, you're doing it for you. So like, that's the mindset I come from. Like, this is like law school. I'm not going out on the weekends that much. I'm working at night. I gave up a lot of my hobbies, cooking, working out. Like people would think that's crazy, but actually, a lot of really successful entrepreneurs all did this. They just don't like to talk about it that much and relive it because no one wants to remember that. They want to remember like what they're doing now, living on the beach and like hanging out and traveling. But when I talk to all these founders, it's like founder life. That's what they did during startup phase. So I think kind of wrapping your head around that and setting more reasonable expectations that if you want, exceptional results, you're going to have to put in like exceptional time, energy, and money. But then, of course, there is a time where it's like, all right, now I've reached my threshold and now what do I do? I make sure that I schedule time for myself. So Friday nights, I just like to just relax. I make sure that that's on the calendar so I don't feel like I should be working. I journal. Writing is really helpful for me. I have a very select few people who I rely on for support. And they usually have the results I have or I want in my life because people will give you really bad advice, but they don't have the results that you want. So only listen to the people that have the results that you want. So I rely on them as well. And other than that, podcasts are really, really helpful for me because they don't take time. So if I can tell my mind is spinning, I will turn on a podcast episode, the Life Coach School, Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, all the people who I know are going to help me shift my mindset. So I know when I'm spinning or in overwhelm or any of that stuff, it's a mindset problem. It has nothing to do with my circumstances. So separating myself and becoming the watcher of my own thinking is something I highly recommend. So like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And why am I choosing to think and feel this way is like one of the most powerful things that you can do. And you really separate yourself from your thoughts and feelings. And that's kind of when the mindset shift magic happens.
Awesome. So much good stuff. And yeah, similar to what we were talking about the best and the worst case scenario, it's like, it takes as much energy to be excited about something as it does to stress about it. So why do we let ourselves stress about it so much more? We don't ever really take the time to pause, just like you're saying, and think, okay, why am I thinking this? Why am I letting myself indulge in this? This hasn't even happened. This is completely out of control. So it's really great that it sounds like you just have a very strong sense of self, which I think is so important for any entrepreneur, or really anyone in general, because if not, they'll fall in the slippery slope that you and I have of listening to society for how to do things and then ending up not where they really want to be. So that's really important. And then it also sounds like you've just got a really grateful attitude. I mean, being grateful that you went to law school, even though you're not going to ever be a lawyer again, is a great way to look at it. I think a lot of people would feel like, you hear lawyers say that they wish they would have gone to law school. And so just having seeing the benefit from everything you've done is a huge takeaway and really inspiring. So yeah.
I want to say one more thing because you hit it right on the head. So I didn't always have this mindset. I wasn't just born this way. People will email me like, oh, have you always had this mindset? Like, no. And that's why I love, not at all. Yeah, definitely. It's a hard no. I think that through all of my personal development work over the last few years, I've really transformed my mindset, and I have chosen to change the story that I tell. It's been very intentional. And when you do this exercise, tell the story of your past in a way that's like your life happening to you. Oh, I got into all this student loan debt. I can't quit because of my debt. I'm never going to make it. I'm not lucky. All this stuff bad happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Tell that story, and then tell the story where every single thing in your life is happening for you. My debt happened for me so that I could go to law school and become a lawyer. And now it turned into a 6-figure business, hopefully 7 figures soon. You know what I mean? Changing that story so it gives you momentum is amazing. And you can always tell someone's mindset and their likelihood of success in the future by how they're telling the story of their past.
I love that. I love that. That is such a great exercise as well. Awesome. So, okay, you've been incredible to listen to, so inspiring as always. And I know that one of the many things you teach is about blogging around your full-time job, because that's what led you to where you are. And I think you have an e-course on that, and we'd love to hear a bit more about that too.
Yeah, I have a course called Blog with a Full-Time Job, blogwithafulltimejob.com. Honestly, it's only for people who want to start a website, a blog, and make money from it. It's not for a hobby blog. I teach it very differently because I teach it using direct response marketing, which is a way for you to monetize a website so that it's just a business that generates revenue. And I put into it all of the stuff that I learned in the last year and wasted the first 2 years not knowing. Because everyone does it from the front end. Oh, I like writing. Oh, I'm passionate about this. I'm going to start a blog. And you don't have the end in mind, and you can't work backwards. So I did it and laid out a full year for what you can expect and how to get your blog from zero to monetize. And then I included what to do next, because I always felt like I started this blog. I made, you get up to a couple $100 to a couple $1,000s a month. And then you're like, now what?
Yeah.
You don't know what to do. So I included in there all the steps that you need to take afterwards, which I would have so loved to have. So anyone who has a full-time job who wants to make side hustle income on the side from a blog, I highly recommend it, but not for the hobby bloggers.
Awesome. And I'll put the link to it below this video, because I get people asking me all the time, how did you do this around your 9-to-5 job? So the fact that you did this very specifically for it is incredible. I'm sure you're going to help so many people more than you already have. So thank you for making that. And do you think that it could be, if people did want to end up taking the leap into full-timeness, would this be able to give them that segue?
Absolutely, because it's the only blogging course I know that includes all the stuff you're talking about, the time management, the productivity, the mindset stuff, how to organize your schedule and really do it with a full-time job so that you can start it from nothing and then grow it so that you can quit your job.
Awesome. Good, because I get asked that a lot too. I bet. Please help me. I don't want to do this anymore. So awesome. Okay. Any final words for us, Natalie? I usually would ask, is there anything that what would you have told yourself a year ago? But you've done a lot of reflection, so you can choose to answer that or something else if you have a final note for us.
You know what? The only final thing I would say is that you can read my entire story at nataliebacon.com/about. And I feel like that will give you everything and more that you want to know about me, and also how you can contact me if you want to email me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. This was so helpful and inspirational, and I'm literally like going to go back through and pick out the couple of things you said. And we are so grateful. And everyone watching, I will put both of her about me and her course below this video. So I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay.